to the Between the Pages podcast. Today we are going to do Choices 2.
And by way of introduction, I am not a financial advisor, okay? And I am not giving you financial advice. So, you got to have a plan. Like we talked about earlier, why are you where you are? You don't have a plan. You didn't plan to fail. You just failed to plan. And so, you got to have a plan. Okay, so if you're going to have a plan, well, what's it going to be? Well, the first thing I think you should do is you should get an education. If you want to break the cycle of poverty, hopefully you get an education out of this. If you want to break the cycle of poverty and get on the path to prosperity, and that's what Kate and Buck do. They repent of what they're doing, the gambling, their addiction. They get on a different path, and they get on the path, and it's the actual path that leads, to prosperity, and has the words prosperity on it. That's how you break the cycle of poverty. Kate and Buck, they gamble away all their money, they fritter away all their time, and they wind up poor, broken down car, busted up furniture. I know this life because I lived it. I was a project kid. I lived in the projects in Huntsville, so I know poverty. So it's not like I'm sitting here talking to you about something I don't know about. And the only way that I got out of that was getting an education. Okay, and getting an education really wasn't that easy a thing to do because we was broke. All right, and so the thing is I had to find other ways to solve that, and I'll explain some of that later. But okay, so then you get that. Well, once you have the education, basically your possibilities are limitless. It's going to open doors. You're going to be able to do things. You're going to be able to go places. You're going to be a whole lot better off than the people who don't have an education. Spend your time reading, pursuing an education, and in that way, you'll have options. And so then, once you have options, well, what's the goal? I mean, you could have all the money in the world, but what profit demand? What's the goal? What do you plan to do? The thing is you got to have some goals. They got to be measurable. Like I want to do such and this and that and the other within a certain amount of time. Or, I want to do this or I want to do that. The thing about it is goals are beneficial. If your goal is to go on vacation, right, and live and go to Cincinnati, we'll just pick that place, and nothing against Cincinnati. Cincinnati's a great place. But I don't know how to get there from here. That's why I have to get a map. I had to get a map out, and, I got to get how to get to Cincinnati. Oh, there's a highway. Okay, I get on the highway. Well, I get to Cincinnati, then what I'll do? I got to have a place to stay, so I have to do that. Oh, I got to eat. So those are goals. Whether you like it or not. And so the thing is if I take and head out, say it says, jump on I-81 and go north, and I go out here and I'm heading towards Virginia. Well, I'm like, man, I've been driving a while. I'm not getting to Cincinnati. What's up? I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going the wrong direction. Know when to quit. If you got a goal that isn't getting you where you're going, you can keep on beating on that goal if you want to for the rest of your life. Just go at it, man, and knock yourself out, but you're not going to get where you want to go. And you're not going to, and so just, there's nothing wrong with changing your goals. There's nothing wrong with doing something different, okay? And so then, what are you going to do? You achieve your goals. You now have unlimited prosperity. Well, what are you going to do? You're going to put it all in the bank and get a warm fuzzy or whatever, or what? I got so much money or whatever. No, you got to do something. You got to, and so you want to donate. You want to give back. You want to help people who were in the situation you were in get an education and, become prospering members of the community. If you're not willing to do that, then it's all you're just doing it for yourself. You got to learn to be that, have gratitude, if you will, like we talked about earlier. Have gratitude for what's been done for you and be willing to share that with other people to help them. Whether you believe it or not, you and your job is a ministry. You're an example as a Christian to the other people that you work with on a daily, weekly, monthly, yearly basis. They see you and they see that you're a Christian. And when you leave work at the end of the day and you go out and get some beat up jalopy that, smoke's coming out or burning oil out the back of it or whatever, they're going, but if they see something different, they see someone who's, confident, and they see someone who's helping, active in their community, and so on and so forth, then they're going to want to be like you, okay? And so in your job, do the best job you can do. Whatever it is they give you to do it. And if someone offers you an opportunity to do work, take it. You'll be surprised what you learn. And I've learned a lot. I've done a lot of different things. My first job was washing dishes at age 12. And so I'm in my 6th decade of work. And I've never been without work because I'm always willing to say, okay. And I've learned some work I don't want to do, and some work I didn't think I got compensated fairly for it. And, whatever. But I found other work. Okay. So that's what you need to do. And so, to me, that's a goal, is to teach other people, ministry, work. I tell my boss all the time, I do the best job I can do, not for me, for you. I do it for my boss. I do it for her because I want her to look good in front of her boss. Okay? And so that's the way you need to approach work. Not that you're doing the best job. There's some satisfaction in doing a good job. I mean, period. You should want to feel confident that you did the best you could do today. But your reason should be outside of yourself. And so if you have money, you can pay your debts. A lot of people can't pay their debts. And then you can save money, which is an important thing to be able to do. You need to be able to save for your future. And so in doing this, you wind up with options, right? You wind up what you're currently doing, which I can pretty much, I bet 90% of folk out there can check that Babylonian System box. That's the system you're in. And it's not your fault. It's just that's the system we're in, and then you got to learn to work within that system. Or you can work with something different. You can work in the Abrahamic system. Okay? And so there are a couple of takeaways here. Time, you got 4,000 weeks on average. And you're not going to get any more than that. A little bit more, maybe a little bit less, but that's it. That's all there is to it. And more people have lived and walked on this earth than are currently on it right now. And that should tell you something. Okay? They have lived their lives and they're no longer here. Money, they had the same problems. They had to make a living and whatever, but they saw money as a tool, not as an end. It's something they could use to do something different, to build a bigger barn or better school or a better house or, provide medical care or whatever it was their thing. Money's a tool. It's not the end, okay? And so you want to have that time or the money or the network is what they call it today, friends and family, other people, associates, acquaintances, if you will. You want to have that because those are the 3 things you're going to need. And so this is just a kind of I could have made 5 or 6 charts out of this. But I thought,
choices 3 and 4 and 5.
Choices 3, 4, and 5. This is heavy. This is deep stuff, man, And so, but you got to, if you want to live different, you got to behave different. So break back the chart, okay? Timeline. I have approximately 500 weeks remaining. That's just to tell you where I am. And in 1970, I got my first job washing dishes. I did a lot of other odd jobs and that kind of thing. And so graduated high school. I was topping a class of 800 something. I wasn't at the very top, but I was pretty smart. But I had no options. I just go to work. So I joined the United States Air Force. And the reason why I joined the United States Air Force was GI Bill. Because if there was one thing my mother communicated to me that stuck with me is she worked hard And I'm saying there's probably a lot of y'all that are like this. She worked hard her entire life, down on her knees, scrubbing floors and cleaning toilets, and worked as a short order cook and stuff like that, her whole life. So if hard work was what was going to get you out of what you're in, that ain't going to happen. One of the things she said to me is, she cleaned these office buildings for these people. She said, them college boys, they don't work hard. They don't work hard like me. They sit around the desk and talk on the phone and do stuff like that. Now I now know that them college boys work hard too. It's just a different kind of hard, and they get paid more for it too. And so the thing is I got the GI Bill, and I was honorably discharged. Okay, so that's something to think about. There was a lot of times during that I was like, I'm quitting. I'm gonna just tell them to let me out. And Sergeant Zachmeyer, he told me, Jimmy, he said, you want out? Just kiss me right here and we'll let you go. I'm like, no. I put my name on the line. I'm going to stick it out. And so I got out, went to school, got an education, got a BS in accounting, got a BS in computer science. Made a lot of difference in my life. I didn't graduate summa cum laude, but I graduated cum laude with honors. And so you can do it. And the reason why I point that out is that I worked a 40-hour week at a place in Huntsville while I was going to school at night and on weekends. Okay. And some of you out there know what I'm talking about. Now, there's others of you out there that, you're in college. Maybe you're fortunate enough to be looking this, and the reason you're there is you have a benefactor, usually called PARENT or PARENTS. And they're the ones who are providing your way and whatnot, and you're not having to work for it, which is fine. God bless you. You are a fortunate person, and you should express gratitude with a spirit of thanksgiving when you get together around the holiday table. You come home for a visit. You should express that. I started a family 1990, got 5 kids, 10 plus grandchildren now. I began to work. I got my degree, went to work for a company and what they would call a career. And just for clarification's sake, a career is something like movie stars or people who sing music, or maybe your doctor or your dentist or someone who owns their own business. They have careers. The rest of us have jobs. And as you remember, our earlier definition is just over broke. So 5 years into that career thing, I began to realize, no, I need to own my own business. And this is one of the reasons I've never signed up for a 401k or own stocks or anything like that. I was always more, I like land, I like trees, I like cattle, I like horses, I like chickens and eggs. I see those as real, that's part of the Abrahamic system, okay, commodities. And an aspect of that is money, gold and silver, precious stones, precious jewels. Those are commodities. Well, I'm wearing that shirt. That label you see there to the right up here, it says 2DC6Z0. And I got that shirt in 2002, and I'm still wearing that shirt today, which is kind of an interesting thing. It still fits, and I still have it. Now, I have a lot of shirts, okay, and I still have them. And what you need to do, if you want to make your money last longer, you need to learn to take care of the things that you have. That way you're not out there just buying the same thing over and over. I see people waste money all the time on the latest clothes, the latest fads. Hey, my nakedness is covered. That's all that the clothing is supposed to be doing, okay? And so, but this particular number, 2DC6C0. Now, back there in 1976 when I joined the Air Force, my mom, she had parted ways with me and showed me the street, and in 1976, and I reached in my pocket and I pulled out a penny, and a nickel. Clothes on my back and a penny and a nickel. By this time, '02, which is several decades later, and a lot of experiences and whatnot, that 2DC6C0 number, if you put that in a hex calculator, it comes out. And I used to wear the shirt to work, and the guy's like, what is that? I said, big number. It is $3 million. I hit a net worth of $3 million in 892. And it's only gotten better since then. So I'm not saying my life is anything you want to pattern your life after, but you know, if it's working for you, you're already there, knock yourself out. What I want to do is I want to try to show you a way that you can do it without doing the Babylonian thing. Do the Abrahamic thing, and you'll be more content with your lot in life, and you'll build real wealth in your life. Okay? So I threw this in here because JG, he's our next book that's coming out, and you know, he right now is the season of autumn here, fall, as some people know it. And it's a wonderful season. And like I say, it's one of my favorite seasons. And one of the things you want to do when you reach the season of autumn in your life is you don't want to have any regrets. I mean, if you do have regrets, you want to have a few of them, not a lot. And that's what he's doing. He's reading this book by Siva Elder. She's a fictional character we made up called Red Leaves. And Red Leaves by Siva Elder is red leaves backwards. So if you're trying to figure that out, that's what that is. But he's young in his life, and this is when he's deciding, I want to do something positive with my life. And so he dedicates himself to the mission field, and he becomes a selfless servant. Okay, but I picked this in the stack of money, that silver coinage. I picked this particular one out. It's 1929. And a lot of people associate that 1929 with the date, the financial collapse and crisis. And this was back when there was real money, not like what today is. So you can pretty much bet the next financial crisis is going to be unlike anything that's ever been seen. And when you're sitting around the Thanksgiving table, I know that this is the prescribed cultural, Babylonian System mantra, if you will. Oh, we don't talk about religion. We don't talk about politics. Well, okay, don't talk about religion and don't talk about politics, because you're not going to probably get anywhere. You know, the religious system is probably part of the problem, and the political system definitely is part of the problem. But the third horse is the black horse. It's the financial system. And if you're not going to talk about religion and politics, you surely aren't going to talk about money, but you ought to be talking about money. You ought to be talking about all three of those. And so that way you're at least aware of what's happening when it happens. You know, so many people are like, what happened? Then my granddaughter used to do it all the time. What happened? You know, there's a lot of people growing up doing the same thing. But aside from the fact that I picked this quarter out because it's a beautiful design, you think about the history of this quarter. It saw the Depression. It saw World War II. That in itself was quite a thing. It saw Israel become a nation. It saw Korea. It saw Vietnam. It saw 20% interest rates in the 70s and 80s. It saw the fall of the Berlin Wall. It saw the Gulf conflicts. It saw the Twin Towers. Oh, Pearl Harbor was in there too, right, y'all? For all the old people. And it saw the financial crisis, 2008, and it's still here. And it's going on 100 years old.
Yeah, I was going to say, only a few years left.
A few more years and it'll be 100 years old. And it's real money. Now, think about this quarter. Think how many people worked for this quarter. I mean, think of the number of hands. This quarter did not discriminate. It probably been in every race known to man at one point in time. Male, female, child, adult, old, young, everything. This quarter, they worked for it. They traded their time for this quarter so that they could take a vacation or buy groceries or pay the utility bill.
You traded your time for it.
What's that?
You traded your time for it.
I traded my time for it. I did. I traded my time for it. And now it's in my possession. But you know what? This is one of the things I never could figure out about the real estate business, how you could own land. I don't know how you can do that because you don't own land. The land owns you. From the dust of the earth, you were created. And to the dust of the earth, you will return. The land owns you. And if you think you're not going to be returning to it, more power to you. Because that's exactly where your body's going to go. Back to the land that it came from. And so you can't own the land. It owns you. Okay? So you think about what is it that you want to leave behind? What legacy do you want to leave? Because that's exactly what you're going to be doing someday, is leaving it all behind. Okay? And so this quarter was worth a lot in 1929. It was worth a lot in 1960. It's worth a lot in 2025. Now, this probably doesn't contain as much silver as it used to because it's worn down. But we'll just go with it's 90% silver. It's worth 52 today. Oh no, it's worth a tenth of $52 because we had 5 quarters. Oops. And so it's worth at least $10 and something. Okay? So the question is, what do you want to do with your time? Where do you want to focus at? Do you want to have something that has real value, that has real worth? Well, the Abrahamic system offers you that. And so the next question you're going to want to attempt to be asking yourself is, okay, what do we do now?